I had an interview many years ago on my first podcast with Hector Lombard from the UFC. And he talked about that. He was a judo guy originally from Cuba, and he was like so good as a kid that the government actually came and like took him from his parents and like put him in like an institution that's run by the government. So I guess down there, I don't know if you got to see that at all while you were down there, because I've never been to Cuba before, but they have these institutions where like the kids live in like these massive dorms, and the kids just live there and are developed by the government to get into the Olympics and stuff, which is insane. Did you see that kind of stuff?
It's like a little OTC.
Yeah.
I mean, it's used all over, to be honest. And when you look at it in points of views of like these third world countries where some parents can't afford to feed their kids, I mean, for example, one of my coaches, so the reason I would go to Cuba is one of my coaches is a world champion in Greco-Roman.
Nice.
So he would always bring us out there. He's like, the training is good here. And most of my teammates were Greco. So I was like, we'll go, and the freestyle is a great level as well. So, I was like, all right, let's do these trips to Cuba. But then I have this other coach, Vogar Raju, who's Vito Raju's dad, I'm sure you guys know Vito, Cornell, outstanding wrestler. His dad is from, Azerbaijan originally, and he would tell me stories. He's like, back in the day, it was hard to get food and stuff. So when these government officials or anybody would come over and be like, hey, we think your kid's good, this and that, a lot of the parents would just be like, yeah, just take my kid, go. Like, make sure they get something out of this, or, whatever the risk to reward was. And I mean, some of them come back world champions and they're able to change their lives. And, hopefully that's always what's happening. I believe that what you're talking about is Cerro Pelado. So it's a facility basically like the OTC that, athletes can be dorming in a facility, and then, training facilities and so on and so forth. So it's basically an academy, of just for sports. So, they have certain things like that. It's just, it's interesting to think about, because you think, oh, they're going to pick these kids, and these kids have been training for this. Like, they want that to happen. They want to be pulled up and then be amongst the ranks of like all these amazing other wrestlers, or athletes, So it's interesting, a dynamic. And then you get to meet people from around the world, and it's a pretty interesting thing when you're from, you've seen one aspect of life, and then you meet someone like I know for me, for example, like I speak Spanish, I'm fluent in Spanish. So when they get me, they're like, you got to sit down and I got to hear everything you have to say. Yeah. They're like, you come from a different world. I'm like, I do.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And it's an interesting take, you meet people and you get to familiarize yourself, and you see, we're not so different, or we are different, or, whatever the case may be. It's an interesting thing when you can communicate with people. And even when you don't, like, traveling out to Europe, sometimes I wouldn't speak their languages, but through the wrestling, they'd be like, this move, that move, this. And it's like, all right, I get you. You're not so bad.
It's like a universal language. So if you can speak the actual native tongue, that allows you to connect with people tremendously. But even when you go places where there is a bit of a language barrier, wrestling's like this international language, man, of its own. You guys train with people that don't even speak the same language, but you guys can all sort of show each other things. And it's really cool, man. It really is a pretty neat thing.
It really is. It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful when you can see different cultures and just, people of different backgrounds come together. And honestly, it would be and I think it's what's going to save the world, to be honest, just being able to familiarize and understand each other, at the end of the day, seeing that we're not so different, but, you're only going to really reap those rewards if you put that training in,
Yeah,